documents are also called, this is called shipping document. Shipping document. This is called exchange control document. Alright, you're welcome to another edition of sharing trade information on YouTube. And in today's video, the last one I talk about, you need this document to export. Today I'll talk about you need this document to import, or you need this document to import, or the document you need to import into Nigeria. Again, I will divide my board into two, and I'll talk about the pre and then the post. If you remember, in the pre, I talked about the document required for you to initiate the export and the document required after shipment. This one, I'll look at the pre-import document, and then I'll look at the post-import document. Pre-import document, then I'll look at the post-import document. Post-import document. Now, so I'll start with the pre-import document. Just like we discussed in export, pre-import documents include, number one, Form M. You can call it the application form for import. Application form for import, Form M. In export, we call it NXP. In import, we call it Form M. In export, we call it NXP. In import, we call it Form M. Form M, that's the application form for import. Basically, this form is to be filled, again, providing detail of the buyer and the seller, providing the HS code, providing the amount, and a number of other information that will be required by the buyer. And by the way, this form is so important. If this form is not approved and you go ahead to import into Nigeria, your good can be confiscated, your good can be seized, your good can be destroyed, because that will be tantamount to illegal import into the country. That will be tantamount to illegal import into the country. Form M. Form M. The application form. Where do you get this form? You get it on a custom website called www.trade.gov.ng. Trade.gov.ng. It is on trade.gov.ng you are going to fill this form. Now, just like we have it in export, if you have watched the export video, just on documentation like this, just again export. Look at the next one, pro forma invoice. Now, the regulation for import in Nigeria is very strict. Very, very strict. Pro forma invoice. Pro forma invoice is the invoice issued before shipment happens. Pro forma invoice. Pro forma invoice must, at the point you are applying to import with Form M, this invoice must not be more than 90 days old. 90 days old. What does that mean? 90 days old. What does that mean? 90 days old because if I got an invoice from a buyer and I don't use it in 90 days, the possibility the price has changed in 90 days is high. So the idea is to ensure that you don't use what is called stale invoice to process your Form M. Stale invoice for Form M. So pro forma invoice. Now this pro forma invoice needs to state the value of the goods. On this pro forma invoice, the amount must be broken down into the total value must be CFR, because in quotation for import into Nigeria by sea is CFR. If it's by air or by rail, so air or by road, it's called CPT. So CFR or CPT. And this is broken down into freight and FOB. So that means the total value you are stating on the document, on the document, on the formal invoice, must be broken down into freight and FOB. They must be broken down into freight and FOB. They must be broken down into freight and FOB. Why should they be broken down into freight and FOB? The reason they need to be broken down into freight and FOB is because that information is required for duty calculations sometimes in future. Sometimes in future when the good has been cleared. From M now, then you attach necessary permit. Necessary permit. Necessary permit. This permit might include NAFDAC or SON or Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission, or if it is oil product DPR license, different permit depending on the nature of the item you are importing. Permit. So you fill the form, you attach the permit. Now, for you to import into Nigeria, if you are familiar with Incoterms, for Incoterms CFR, if you are familiar with Incoterms, for Incoterms CFR, the risk and cost of the exporter ends while the goods are on board the vessel at the port of loading. The risk and cost of the exporter ends while the goods are on board the vessel at the port of loading. That means the importer is bearing the cost of shipment of the goods to destination. That means the importer is bearing, is bearing the cost of shipment to destination because that of the exporter have ended. So as soon as the good, let's assume the ship, as soon as the good are on board the vessel at the port of loading, my container fell. As soon as the good are on board the vessel at the port of loading, the movement of good to destination, the risk is now on the importer. Now, Nigerian government says, look, if you are going to be getting effects from the government to fund your import transaction, if you are going to be importing to Nigeria at all, you must do insurance because the risk is on you. Because the government says you must do CFR as Incoterm, the risk is on you. So you must do insurance, and insurance must be local. So if you are importing to Nigeria, you need an insurance certificate. You need an insurance certificate. And the insurance must be 110% of the value of the import. 110% of the value of the import. What does that mean? If you are importing, 110% of the value of the import is insurance. That means if my import value, pro forma invoice shows $100,000 CFR, my insurance will be 110,000 insurance. So that means if my insurance is 0.5%, I will not be doing 0.5% of 100,000. I'll be doing 0.5% of $110,000. $110,000. Insurance certificate, 110%. In addition to this, if I'm importing into Nigeria, after I have done all this and submit, after you are filling all this and submitted, and you have submitted now, and it's approved, because it might not be approved if you are exporting contraband item. It might not be approved if you are exporting contraband item. And the reason is because contraband item, of course, as you know, are prohibited. Contraband item, as you know, are prohibited. It might not be approved. So because it's contraband, that's why it's not approved. However, let's assume it's approved. Now it's approved. If your transaction is a letter of credit transaction, this is the time to issue your letter of credit. Remember, letter of credit is an undertaking of the buyer's bank giving to the seller that give assurance of payment when shipment is made and documents are presented that conform to the terms and conditions of letter of credit. Letter of credit is an undertaking of the buyer's bank given to the seller which give assurance of payment when shipment is made and documents are presented that conform to the terms and conditions of a letter of credit. What that then mean is that You want to send an undertaking to the buyer abroad. Giving undertaking with your bank, giving undertaking to the buyer that they will pay. However, you cannot go ahead and issue that letter of credit from your bank until this is approved. Why? There is a document, there is a reference number that must be quoted on all documents, otherwise called Form M number or bank reference. They call it MF number or BA number. You cannot get those references until you have submitted this document and they've all been approved. Because on this letter of credit, when it's being issued, this MF and BA number will be stated, because it has to be stated on all documents to be shipped, or for the shipment to Nigeria after shipment. All the documents must be stated on all the documents. Afterwards, it must be stated on all the documents. MF number, BA number. MF number, BA number. Pre-import documentation. Then next, now, after you've done this, then you have now shipped the goods. After you ship the goods, after you've done this, you will now inform the buyer to ship the goods. The buyer will now issue, look at this, post-import documentation. Post-import documentation, I will group that into two. You have the pre-clearance documents, and then you have the post-clearance document. Pre-clearance document and post-clearance document. Pre-clearance document, bill of lading. Bill of lading. I need to move this down. Bill of lading. So you have the post-clearance document. Bill of lading. That's a document, of course. Evidence good has been shipped. You'll be familiar with that by now. Evidence good has been shipped is an evidence of contract of carriage, it's an evidence of receipt of goods, it's an evidence of title to the goods. It can be airway bill, it is by air. It can be roadway bill, it is by road. Then I have my final invoice, or my invoice, which can be commercial invoice or final invoice. Invoice, which can be commercial invoice, final invoice. And you know what invoice is for again? An invoice has to be broken down into FOB and freight, because it's a CFR transaction, right? So remember the way we talk about it under PFI. Invoice, then you have the packing list. Just like we had under export, this is to pack the goods. It helps in clearing, it helps customs to be able to check. It helps exporter in loading, it helps importer in unloading, it helps customs in checking, packing list. Then you have the certificate of origin in some cases, particularly when it's manufactured good. Then you have the manufacturer certificate. Then certificate of analysis. Then if it is regulated by SON, you will have SON card certificate. Or any other certificate required, depending on the nature of the transaction. Or any other certificate required, depending on the nature of the transaction. This is very important. Very important. The reason it is very important is because the nature of the transaction will determine what happens afterwards. Now, by nature, I mean the value of the goods, the value of the goods, the value of the goods, the value of the goods. Now, this document is pre-clearance. After I've cleared in Nigeria, you will get some additional documents. In the course of clearing, you will get duty receipt. Duty receipt. In the course of clearing, you will get duty receipt. You will get when the good you get pre-arrival assessment report. In the course of clearing, also you will get duty receipt. Gate pass when you are leaving the port. Gate pass. This document are also called. This is called shipping document. Shipping document. This is called exchange control document. Get pass. You can also have SGD, single good declaration. So you can see this as post clearance. You get all these documents in the course of clearing. You get these documents ever before clearing. So let's go through the documents around up. Number one, if I'm importing, I need Form M, application form for import. I need pro forma invoice. I need permit, depending on the nature of the item I'm importing. I need insurance. And then, if I'm letter of credit, then I will issue letter of credit after all this has been approved. I hope I'm not missing out any document. Then, shipping document or post import. This is from the buyer. You need bill of lading. You need invoice. You need packing list. Now, certificate of origin, manufacturer certificate. In fact, bill of lading and invoice we will have in all transactions. Packing list if it requires packing. Certificate of origin if it's particularly if it's new and manufactured. Manufacturer certificate, certificate of analysis, some kind of certificate or any other document that the buyer requires. Then post clearance, duty receipt, pre-arrival assessment report, gate pass, and single good declaration. Now, if you have watched the pre-export, the document required if you are importing in Nigeria, document required if you are importing in Nigeria, in one of the videos you see on this channel in future, I'm going to now show you how import process works and where each of these documents is in use, and then how export process works step by step, and where each of the documents is in use. You will see that in my next video. So I believe this, of course, has been of immense value to you. You can check up someday, some week to come. You will definitely get to see how each of these documents is in use and the step-by-step import process and step-by-step export process. Thank you very much for stopping by to watch the video today. See you in the next video. Bye for now.